Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be ranking One Piece arcs. Looked at a couple different lists, but finally decided to just go with this one that has the names on them. Is easy to read, which is made by Zeka. Zeka for making it. Yeah, we're going to rank these arcs. How do I rank One Piece arcs and what my favorite arcs are? I'm going into this not knowing what this ranking is going to be, not knowing what the best ranked arcs are going to be. I'm not just going to rank them on fights. I know a lot of people do that. I think I'm going to rank them based on the level of character development we get, how impactful the story of that arc was for me, and on the fights themselves as well. That's going to be a part of it. But I want character development. I want cool fight scenes. I want great music. Or in the manga, no music, but you know what I mean. I want to gauge the arc on all of its merits and all of its flaws, and not just one individual thing. So we're in alphabetical order, starting with Alabasta. And it's tough to start with Alabasta because I'm going to put Alabasta in Triple S. I think that other than the Pell moment, there's not really much that I dislike. By the way, this will have spoilers, just heads up. Other than the Pell moment, I think there's not really a moment that I dislike in Alabasta. It's really just that one. I think everything else is really good. And even like the supporting characters like Igaram are really great. Cobra is great. For the most part, other than coming back to life for no reason. Pell is great. The villains of Alabasta are really cool. Crocodile's the only like super, I guess Das Bones is pretty memorable, and Bon Clay. So never mind, I take that back. They're cool, they're memorable. Alabasta was a lot of fun. I think Alabasta was a really good arc for the Straw Hats as well. We got development from just about everybody. Sanji got to show off Mr. Prince a little bit beforehand in Little Garden as well. But it really comes to form in Alabasta and Little Garden. Zoro gets to cut steel, which is really cool. That's a great moment. Nami gets a fight, which doesn't happen very often anymore. It was a really good arc. And then, of course, that final fight with Luffy and Crocodile is top tier. That is a great fight. Love that fight. That was, before hockey is around. And so Luffy has to be clever in how he's going to be able to hurt Crocodile. And I think it pays off really well. I absolutely love Alabasta. I'm going to do my best to be objective here, but subjectivity is definitely going to leak in. Yeah, no, I love Alabasta. I think Alabasta is an incredible arc. It is a payoff for everything that from Reverse Mountain leading up to Alabasta. It is such a great payoff to all of that. So, Triple S. Amazon Lily. This is where things start to get difficult. Where do I want to rank Amazon Lily? As an arc, leading into Impeldown, spend more time with Boa Hancock. We get all the shenanigans on Amazon Lily itself. I don't personally find those characters to be super memorable, other than Boa Hancock. I'm struggling to remember. Sander Sonia is one of them. I'm struggling to remember the others' names. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to put Amazon Lily at a C. And it may move up depending. I'm sure there's like one thing I've forgotten about Amazon Lily. And if there is, tell me in the comment section. Tell me why Amazon Lily is amazing and I've just forgotten it, I guess. But I thought the jokes were funny. Character development wise, though, like Luffy can't really develop much more than he already is. He's kind of already had his arc and he's there, right? I mean, I guess he could develop more. There's no reason he couldn't, but I don't see him developing anymore, and I don't see any way that he really could. He did, you know what? That's not true. He did develop more. He developed more at Marineford, going into the time skip, but Amazon Lily was not it. I don't know. I feel like Amazon Lily sets the stage for a lot of stuff, and it's an important arc, and you need it, but it also didn't hit hard for me in any really great way. That sounds really negative, like I hate Amazon Lily, but I don't. You know what I don't hate, though? Arlong Park. That's also going straight to Triple S. People are going to be like, well, of course you'd say it's Triple S. It's like, well, yeah. Arlong Park is great. Arlong Park features a great Usopp fight. It has a great Sanji fight. It has a great Zoro fight. You say, well, Trey, you're not just going off fights, right? Well, no, I'm not, because it also has that moment. And you know which moment I'm talking about. If you have seen Arlong Park, if you've read Arlong Park, you know what moment I'm talking about. It has the moment where Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp all walk forward together. And the walk is great, but it's not the walk that makes that moment for me. It's the moment where Luffy takes the straw hat off, entrusts it to Nami, and then the camera cuts, manga panel cuts, whatever, however you consumed it, it cuts to, like, pulls out to Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp all ready to go fight. Because it's time to go fight. They have to protect this village. They have to protect Nami. And I love the build up to Arlong Park. I love everything about Cocoa Village and everything there. Arlong Park is great. I love Arlong Park so much. I think it also sets the stage for the problems with Fishman and Fishman racism in the entire series. Arlong Park is absolutely incredible, and it was the thing when I was watching One Piece on the 4Kids dub. It was the thing that made me keep watching when I was like, I don't know, this is really cheesy. It kept me going because Arlong Park is great. I'm definitely putting Triple S tier. I could see it moving down to S tier, but right now, Triple S tier. But speaking of S tier, I adore Baratier. I think that arc is great. There's some moments that, you know, are weird. That whole fight on the broken pieces of ship after Mihawk has cut it, I think is a really cool idea. I think space-wise, it's really hard to tell where everything's at because that fight goes on for a little while and you have, like, Pearl is in one part and then everything's laid out. It's like, where is everybody? However, I think that everything to do with Sanji and Gen is really good. I think that Don Krieg showcasing a pirate that tried to go to the Grand Line and could not cut it. And you're like, but he's so strong. How could he not cut it? And he's so smart and clever and has all these tricks. I think that's great. I think that the characters, the supporting cast in the Baratier arc are amazing. I love Zeph. Zeph is so good. And Sanji's backstory breaks me cry every time. Baratier is great. Very, very solid arc. Next up is Dressrosa. Dressrosa's tough because on the one hand, sure, Dressrosa has some really cool moments. On the other hand, Dressrosa's really, really long. So, how do I rank Dressrosa, man? How do I feel about Dressrosa now that I ask myself that question? I think Dressrosa has some really cool stuff in there. Senor Pink is really cool. Luffy v. Bellamy is really cool. Luffy, you know, coming to protect Law is really cool. The Corazon flashback is in Dressrosa. Law's flashback, and that's a really, that got me good. Tournament was pretty cool. There's the Straw Hat Fleet. It's got Barto and Cavendish. It's got Rebecca and Kairos. Whether that's a positive or a negative, I'll leave that up to you. I really dislike Rebecca, I'm going to be honest. I think that her character was completely wasted. But there was some really good stuff in Dressrosa. I think I'm going to put Dressrosa in A. Dressrosa is not one of those arcs that I just want to sit back down and read again. But I can recognize all the good that happens in Dressrosa that the story really needed. I feel like I'm biased because I don't like the Straw Hats being apart, if I can help it, especially not after they were apart for a long time. But Dressrosa definitely had some very important things story-wise. So we're going to put it in A. Maybe over time that'll go up to an S. Corazon flashback is very, very solid. Didn't like the birdcage that much, though. I need to move on because the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, Drum Island. Trey, where are you going to put Drum Island? Where would you put a short arc about Nami getting sick and then having to stop on an island full of doctors. Where would you put Drum Island? I don't think Drum Island is triple S, but I love it enough that it could be. Okay. All right. Drum Island's top of S. But Trey, Drum Island has very little combat. It has a lot of talking. It could have been like 4 episodes shorter, probably. Yeah, but I adore Drum Island. I don't adore Drum Island for the fights. I think the fights are fine. They're not like spectacular, but they're fine. Um, I like Drum Island characters for the story that it tells and the impact that it has on the rest of the world. And you may say, but Drum Island doesn't have that big of an impact. It does, though, because it introduces the story of Dr. Hiraduk. Dr. Hiraduk, a man that is willing to go all out for his dreams. And so, up until this point, up until Drum Island, we had gotten little snippets of that, right? Like, here's Shanks. He's willing to do whatever for his dreams. Here's Luffy. You know, he wants to keep fighting for his dreams. And one by one, Luffy keeps hearing the stories of these incredible men and women that are ready to do whatever for their dreams, that are willing to go the furthest mile possible. And so the story of Dr. Hiraduk is yet another reminder of this is the kind of person that our crew is going to have to be able to find the One Piece. And that's just my personal take on Drum Island. I fully recognize that, right? But I think that Dr. Hiraduk's story is impactful, it's incredible, and it sets the stage in a lot of ways for what we're going to see. It also asks the question of, if the system's corrupt, what do we do? And Dr. Hiraduk says, we keep doing what we got to do. That's what his story tells us. They pick up Chopper. Chopper himself is pretty important for the rest of the story. You know, he's another Straw Hat. But I'm not going to gauge these arcs based on, like, if they pick up a Straw Hat. It's going to be based off the characters in there. And I do think that Dr. Hiraduk and Dalton and Dr. Kureha are very strong characters. I think everybody after that's not great. The villains are not great. Wapol, fine, I guess. But I couldn't tell you. Is it Checkerman? Is that the name of Wapol's right-hand guy? I couldn't tell you. And I've rewatched Drum Island many times. It doesn't stay in my mind at all. But I think that the ideas of Drum Island and what it represents are very strong. And it's one of the first moments where we see Luffy stand up for a flag and refuse to let the flag get burned down. I think it definitely sets the stage for the rest of the story, basically. And it's not the only arc that does that. Alabasta does that as well. Arlong Park does that when it comes to the crew coming together, you know. There's an arc coming up that I think does that as well. We'll get into that when we get there. NES Lobby. Where could I rank NES Lobby but Triple S? And actually, NES Lobby is one of my favorite arcs. I adore NES Lobby. Not just for the fights. Again, I know people that are like, well, yeah, it's got the best fights in the series. And it does have some really good fights. But NES Lobby, as we were just talking about with Drum Island, it sets the stage, this time, with Luffy versus the world government. Of, I'm going to do what I need to do to protect my people. And if the world government's going to get in the way, then we'll burn the world government down while we're at it. And I love what that represents for the rest of the story. Because again, there are steps that Luffy takes throughout the course of the story that as he takes them, he can't take them back. And he wouldn't anyway. He's not that kind of character. And NES Lobby is the one where it's, I'll do whatever I have to. And I love that so much. NES Lobby has Frankie. And Frankie is great. I absolutely adore Frankie. We'll get back to Frankie when we get to Water 7. I think Frankie in NES Lobby is really strong. It has the Robin I Want to Live moment. It has the Sogeki Usopp moment where Usopp, not that those two characters are related in any way, but the moment where Usopp yells out for Luffy not to give up during his fight with Rob Lucci. It has the fight with Rob Lucci. In fact, every Straw Hat except for Robin really gets a really good fight in that arc. Even to the point of Monster Point with, is that guy's name Konkuro? I think it's Konkuro. The fight with Zoro versus Kaku is amazing. I wish that Asura could come back sometime. Dial Jambe with Sanji versus Jabara, really, really good. And then, of course, Luffy versus Rob Lucci is one of my favorite fights in the entire series. NES Lobby, absolutely top tier. Really, really love that arc. Watch it every once in a while again just for fun. Really, really solid arc. Fishman Island, the first post time skip arc. Where are we going to put Fishman Island? Fishman Island has some really cool moments in it. I think that it gets maligned a lot for being kind of boring, people say. But really, Fishman Island was for the story more than it was for combat. I know people love good fights, and I love a good fight too. And most of the Fishman Island fights were just like, hey, let's show off what the Straw Hats can do post time skip. But I think that story-wise, it was very important. It got us the rest of the story about Tiger. It got us the rest of the story about Fishman Island itself and what was going on there. It unfortunately gave us more Caribou. Ugh. Yeah, no, Fishman Island for me is probably gonna be. I'm probably gonna give it a B. I think that it's a fine arc. Story wise, it's pretty good. But Hody Jones and Vanderdecken do nothing for me as villains. I thought the brothers could have had more. Neptune, is that his name? I can't remember. No, Neptune's the weapon. Triton's the name, right? Oh man, no, it's King Neptune. Okay, I'm doing all this from memory, instead of looking everything up because I want to try and be faithful to the arcs that I remember. Yeah, I think his sons could have been maybe a little bit more characterized, but it was a fine arc. There was some good stuff in there for sure. I could move it up to A, I suppose. We'll see. When we get to the end of this, we'll go back and see. Because I do think some of the interactions between Luffy and Shirahoshi were really nice. And Zoro getting to beat up Hody Jones was pretty funny. Vanderdecken was a creep. I forgot how much Vanderdecken was a creep until just now. Impeldown! So, for a long time, I didn't like Impeldown at all. I was very salty at the time when it came out because the Straw Hats were all separated again, and I just wanted them back together. However, I think Impeldown is actually a really solid arc. Now that I've gone back and I've watched it again and I've read it again, I think Impeldown is a really solid arc. I don't know, maybe it's just because now I have full context for it and for what it sets up, but Impeldown, really, really good. Luffy versus Magellan is a pretty good fight. Bon Clay protecting Luffy, really, really good, especially at the end where Bon Clay sacrifices himself to stay in prison so that Luffy can escape, go try and save Ace. Getting Crocodile and Das Bones, getting Jinbei. It's a really solid arc. Ivankov and everything going on there. The floors, Buggy. Yeah, Impeldown was really fun in hindsight. At the time, again, I just wanted my Straw Hats back together. But now, with time to sit on it and time to see the ramifications of it, Impeldown was incredibly important to the world of One Piece and was really fun. I like it. I'm gonna put it A. Jaya. So, this may sound crazy because Jaya doesn't really have any big fights. I think Jaya is an S tier arc. Jaya sets the stage for so much. It just like, okay, I'm gonna get philosophical again, like I did with Drum Island and like I did with NES Lobby. Jaya sets the stage for the dream, right? Every character already had a dream. We had that moment in Baradier. I forgot about the moment in Baradier with Zoro and Mihawk. Baradier has to move to top of S. We had that moment in Baradier with Zoro and Mihawk that cemented that the dream is the most important thing to these characters. But then in Jaya, we get the conflict of that with Blackbeard and with Bellamy. and the way that Luffy is willing to just take a beating from Bellamy without fighting because he has no reason to fight him until he insults his dream, and then fights on. But I love what Jaya sets up when it comes to dreams, because up until that moment, like the Baratier moment hits really hard, right? But you could be forgiven if you forget about how important dreams are leading up to Jaya, because like the characters don't talk about it all that much, whatever. But then that moment in Jaya, if the Baratier moment didn't tell you how important dreams are, the Jaya moment absolutely is going to. Because you have Blackbeard, you have Nolan, and you have Bellamy, and all three of them are cementing the idea that the dream is incredibly important and that you have to keep that in your mind. And now, like, who doesn't, when you're watching One Piece or reading One Piece and you're this far in, when are you not thinking about the character's dreams, you know? It's such a good setup, and it pays off so well in Skypiea as well for Nolan's dream. But yeah, Jaya's great. Little Garden. Little Garden is a fun arc. I like it. I really like the Giants. I really like I wanted to say Doffy and Broggy, but I think it's Broggy and Dory. I liked them. I liked Mr. 3 and everything that happened there. Booger Man. There's some really cool stuff going on in Little Garden. Where do I want to put it? I don't think like it's very important to the Alabasta arc, but I don't think that it like has any huge impact on the entire world of One Piece or the thematic storytelling of One Piece. Mr. Prince is important, I guess. You get to meet Robin and Crocodile this arc. I'm gonna put it in a B. I think Little Garden's fine. I had fun with Little Garden. It was good. Lowtown. Lowtown's pretty important. Zoro and Tashigi meet again. Zoro gets his cursed sword. I say meet again. They meet. Smoker. Buggy comes back with Alvida. There's the execution, which Dragon interrupts. It's pretty important theming-wise, too, because you have the moment where Luffy smiles thinking he's about to die in the way that Roger did, which leads you to the the storytelling parallels between the two. It's a fun arc, but it's short, but it's not short in a bad way. Like, it does everything it's trying to do. I think I'm going to put Lowtown in A. I think it's a very solid arc that sets up a lot in a very short amount of time. Long Ring Long Land. Davy back fight. Where am I going to put the Davy back fight? Narrative-wise, not super important, I guess. It shows us that pirate crews can be made up of almost any kind, and they can be very different. Everybody has their individual skills. It sets the stage of what if something happens to one of the Straw Hats, which pays off later in Sabaoti. It's also just a lot of fun, though. Like, the Davy back fight is really interesting. Foxy's great. They make Zoro and Sanji wear those little hats. They lose Chopper. Get him back. We're gonna put it in A, I think. I had a lot of fun with it. It was solid. Marineford. At the time, I felt like Marineford was dragging really badly. Now I look back on Marineford and go, "Oh, that was really cool." When we talk about setting the stage, right? We'll get into the fights in a minute because there are some really good fights in there. When we talk about setting the stage, I think Marineford sets the stage for the second half of One Piece in a way that none of the other arcs were able to. Not like to put the other arcs down for it, but I think that Marineford sets the idea of the world government cannot do this. They are not they are tough and they are powerful, but they're not the real enemy because they couldn't take down Whitebeard, but Blackbeard could. It also sets up the idea of pirates that don't agree working together to try and stop a greater goal. It sets up Akainu as being extra vicious and willing to do whatever he has to. And it also sets up Luffy with the loss of Ace to be able to move forward and be able to become who he needs to be, character-wise and strength-wise, to be able to reach the One Piece. Whitebeard's death is incredible. That is an incredibly powerful moment. Ace's death is pretty good too. Still gets me when I think about it. Fight-wise, I said there were some incredible fights. I think there are some good fights. There's not a ton of, like, just knockdown, drag-out fights here. But Luffy versus Garp, even though it's just a moment, is really solid. The moment where Garp, like, basically lets Luffy get him so that Luffy can get to Ace, real good. I think I'm going to put Marineford in S. It's not my favorite arc in a lot of ways, but I also think that it pays off a lot and sets up even more. So very important. Orangetown. Orangetown is the first two mini arcs, I guess you could say. No, that's Romance Down. Orangetown is the Buggy arc. That's right. So, oh boy. Okay. It's well known that I love Buggy. I can't hide that fact. I won't try to hide that. Buggy D Clown is one of my favorite characters in all of One Piece. I absolutely adore Buggy. Where do I put Orangetown? Orangetown is a really fun arc, but it also sets up more things. The dog that wants to keep the pet store, the pet shop, the grocery store. I don't even remember what kind of store it was, but the building. He wants to keep it alive because that's where his owner lived. And Luffy, there we find out that Luffy cares for the heart, not for what the person is or what kind of animal they are or anything like that. It's the heart. And so when that dog shows heart, Luffy cares. Luffy wants to protect that dog. He wants to do what needs to be done, keep that dog safe. It's also where we get introduced to Nami. And, you know, an LADY, Nami's not shy. But I think that introduction is really solid. I think that Zoro in the cage is really, really good. I think that Buggy as a villain is really nice. I think that Buggy's minions, I guess you could say, are memorable design-wise. I can't tell you any of their names, I don't think. I want to say Braj is one of them, but I don't think that's right. But no, I think Orangetown is a really solid arc. I don't think it's, like, top tier, but I enjoy it a lot. Subjectively, I would probably put it in S, but I'm going to put it in A above Lowtown, I believe. Punk Hazard. Punk Hazard is super important. I kind of don't like Punk Hazard. It's one of the few arcs that I look back on and just go, oh man, I don't enjoy that arc. I think Punk Hazard, again, it's super important, right? You find out about the Smile Fruits, find out about Doflamingo's interactions with Kaido, find out about Kinemon, and you meet Kinemon, and that is an extremely important meeting. Although the meeting is a little weird when you look back on it now. Like, Kinemon was just a pair of legs. I love it because it's dumb and awesome in One Piece, but in hindsight, it's a bit strange for the way that we look at Kinemon now. What do I not like about Punk Hazard, though? Caesar Clown is a tough one. Shororororo, indeed. But, like, Punk Hazard set Caesar Clown up to be this terrible mad scientist, right? That experiments on children and doesn't care about his people and will do anything, basically, if he needs to. And then the next couple arcs try to endear us to him, and it doesn't work for me. Like, I like Caesar Clown as a character. I think as a character, he's great. But he's a terrible person. And, like, Buggy's a terrible person, too. And I love Buggy. But if Buggy was suddenly like on the ship with the crew, hanging out, doing stuff, I'd be like, okay, this is weird. Or I guess like a better example, because Buggy did some bad stuff, but he never experimented on children. Imagine Doflamingo on the ship with the crew doing stuff. Okay, and that's how I felt about Caesar Cloud the entire time he was there later, and Punk Hazard sets that up. I also don't think that Virgo really like super works as a villain, but I think Monet was really solid. I think Caesar Cloud as a villain is great. I think that the smile was really interesting. It's just a weird arc in a lot of ways. The fire and ice theme of the island never really like popped up that much, and I don't know. I don't know. It's a weird arc. I like it, I guess. I don't like it, I guess, but it's a weird arc. Punk Hazard. I'm gonna put it in C underneath Amazon Lily. Let me know in the comment section down below why Punk Hazard is way better than I think it is. After that's the Reverie arc. It was pretty good. There were some big reveals that I don't know what they mean yet, so it's kind of hard to rate it. Yeah, it was cool getting to see Vivi again, and Shirahoshi, and King Neptune, and King Cobra, and Wapole. But I don't understand what's going on with the throne. We won't, I guess, for a while, right? So I guess I'll put Reverie in B. It was fine. It was a fine arc. Some interesting stuff that happened. I want to know all the rest that happened there that we haven't got to see yet. But it was fine. Reverse Mount. Reverse Mountain introduces us to Laboon, who is incredibly important in the story of One Piece. And you may say, no, he's not. He actually really is. Because yet again, he's the dedication to the dream, right? If you didn't get it at Baradier and you're not going to get it at Jaya, you probably missed it at Reverse Mountain too. But he's the dedication to the dream. That he wants to see his crew again so badly that he will ram his head against this mountain, effectively hurting himself to try and get to the Grand Line. I love Laboon, and I love what it sets up. We meet Crocus here as well, who's really important. Reverse Mountain also gives us the moment of the barrel with all the Straw Hats putting their foot on the barrel. It's really good. It's very, very good. On to the Grand Line. We also meet Vivi in this arc, which is important. So yeah, I'm going to give Reverse Mountain an A. I think Reverse Mountain's really good. Romance Dawn, the first arc of One Piece. This is the arc where we meet Luffy, we meet Kobe, we meet Helmeppo, we meet Zoro, we meet Alvida and Axe Hand Morgan. I love this arc. This arc is great. This arc sets up so much. Zoro willing to eat the rice ball, the origami, not origami, onigiri. Come on, brain. That has been crushed on the ground and stepped on because the little girl made it, and it would be rude not to eat it. When I think of Zoro, I don't think of Asura. I don't think of Whiskey Peak. I don't think of his later fights or the 108-pound cannon. I think of this moment where he eats the onigiri. And it's just this little thing, but it told me everything I needed to know about Zoro and made me a Zoro fan immediately. I love this arc for the setups. The quick friendship that blossoms between Luffy and Zoro, where very quickly it becomes Luffy's the captain, Zoro's the first mate. It's so good. Romance Dawn is so incredibly important to the story of One Piece. And I'm going to put it in S tier. And we'll rank it within the tier later on, but it might go up to triple S, honestly. Sabaoti Archipelago. So, you may think that I'm going to rate Sabaoti really poorly because I talk about how much I don't like the Straw Hats being separated. I'm going to put Sabaoti at the top of S. I think Sabaoti Archipelago is one of the most important arcs in all of One Piece. Not just because everybody gets split up, and obviously that has to happen for the sake of the time skip and for the sake of Marineford and Impeldown, but because it sets the stage, it introduces us to the rest of the worst generation, Law and kids particularly, we get introduced. It introduces us to the Tenryubito, which are vitally important for us to know. We probably should have met them a long time ago. It introduces us to the Fishman slavery that we already knew was going on, but now we get more of it, and now we get a focus on it. We get to see Luffy punch that Tenryubito, which is one of the best moments in the entire franchise, entire series. Sabaoti Archipelago, so good, so important. We get to meet many Marines. We get to see what's going on with a little bit of Kuma, and we get that horrifying moment. I'm sorry, that horrifying moment where Kuma is slapping people away, and it looks like he's just evaporating them from existence, and you don't know what's happening. That moment is incredible, where Luffy is suddenly alone, and his crew is gone, and he breaks. And that is so vitally important, because it sets the stage for what is Luffy going to do without his crew later. He's got to go do all this stuff. He doesn't have a choice, but he doesn't have his crew with him. And then after Marineford, when he loses his brother, what does he do then? Because he still doesn't have his crew. Sabaoti Archipelago is super important. I love that arc. Even though I don't like the Straw Hats to be split up. It's a weird dichotomy of man, right? Skypiea, also an S. A lot of people say skip Skypiea, and those people are insane. Skypiea is great. Yet again, we get more on the Dream with Wiper. If you hadn't got the point yet, the dreams are important in the world of One Piece. They are. We get Inaru and everything going on with Inaru. The poneglyphs are introduced, and we get, they were mentioned in Alabasta, but we get some more information on them here. There's a lot going on in Skypiea. And then again, we get Luffy bringing home the idea of a dream with Nolan. It's the payoff to the stuff in Jaya with dreams, and it pays off really well. I love this arc. And again, Luffy having to be smart and fight with the bell, the gold, so that he can hit Inaru. Very, very good. Very, very good. I like this arc a lot. I feel like I haven't talked enough about Skypiea. But what else do you say about Skypiea? It's super cool. Like, thematically, it's a really cool arc. It works really well with the dream that was set up with Jaya. It has some really cool fights. It has some really good moments between the Straw Hats. Skypiea's great, man. Syrup Village. Now, hold on. Don't close out this video just yet. I know you just saw me put Syrup Village in S, and you're going, that's insane. Who would ever put Syrup Village in S? Well, let me explain why. We get Usopp, which is great. Again, I'm not going to put an arc above just because we get a Straw Hat, but that's great. But we also get the setup of, here's the Going Merry. We get the moment, and I didn't even bring up the Merry in NES Lobby. We get the setup of Going Merry. We get Usopp and his lies. We get Captain Kuro. And it's the first time that we see a pirate in One Piece that is willing to not be a pirate for a little while, or pretend to not be a pirate, to play with dirty, underhanded tactics. It sets up the offset with Luffy of, we had first Alvida, who very much is a pirate, right? We had Buggy, who very much is a pirate and will terrorize people to get the money and the treasure that he desires. And then we also had Axan Morgan showing us that the Marines were, also able to be corrupt. Then we have Captain Kuro, who plays downright dirty and deceitful. And between him and Django, pull a bunch of different tricks. And that tells us that pirates aren't going to play fair. Pirates aren't some magical, upright, forthwith group. They are people, and they will play dirty. And it sets the stage for all the rest of the playing dirty villain. Crocodile is set the stage for by Captain Kuro, and he's so important. Playing as the butler Karahadol. It's a really, really solid arc. Also, the moment of Usopp coming to try and warn everybody, and they won't listen because he's lied too much. it's just this really powerful moment. And so then having to hold the beach, having to hold that incline, that is definitely one of the moments when I think about One Piece. Then I think about having to hold that incline and how good that is. Thriller Bark. Where am I gonna put Thriller Bark? Thriller Bark has my favorite One Piece character introduced, which is Brook. Thriller Bark has Geckoboria, who's a great villain. Thriller Bark has great gags, zombies. Thriller Bark has some really fun moments. Thriller Bark has a super cool theming. It has some pretty good fights. In fact, one of the best fights in the whole series, in my opinion, in the form of the Straw Hats versus Oars. It has Zoro versus Ryuma and Brook versus Ryuma. It also has Shadow Luffy. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I gotta put it in Triple S if you thought I was going anywhere else with it. I know I set that up for a while. Thriller Bark's Triple S, man. Thriller Bark is one of my favorite arcs in all of One Piece. Thematically, it's super cool. It's a haunted ghost ship in the Florian Triangle. That's super cool. Thematically, though, it also has the idea of what do you do when you cannot fulfill your dream? Do you give up or do you continue trying? Do you keep trying to get to your dream or do you let your dream die? And so you have Brook, who's a skeleton now, who's stuck in the Florian Triangle, who cannot leave because his shadow has been taken. Do you give up or do you keep trying? And Brook keeps trying. And it sets the stage for the idea of no matter what, again, you have to go for your dream. It started very early on in One Piece, and it's been carried through so many other arcs. Thriller Bark just holds firm to it. Thriller Bark has some really, really solid moments. I love Thriller Bark. It also introduces us to Lola, who is very important because of Chiffon. Thriller Bark is great. I love Thriller Bark so much. Oh man, I kind of want to move Thriller Bark up. I subjectively would put Thriller Bark above Alabasta, but I'm gonna be good and leave it after Alabasta. But Thriller Bark is incredible. It's so good. And the moment, oh my gosh, I don't want to cry right now. I have a whole day of work ahead of me. The moment where you get the song, even in manga form, that chapter is incredible. Chapter 48, but in, oh man, don't cry. Cry. The moment when he pulls out the dial and plays the last song of the Rumbar Pirates is my favorite moment in One Piece. As the old crew of the Rumbar Pirates sing, Brook sings at the same time that Luffy and the others are singing. It's very powerful. And yet again, it's the dream being carried forward. Even if it's another thing that I didn't bring up earlier. Even if the dream can't be carried forward by you, maybe it can be carried forward by someone else. So leading into that is Water 7. Trey, you can't put Water 7 and NES Lobby both in Triple S. I sure as heck can, and I just did. Water 7 continues the theme of the dream being carried forward as Robin has to carry forward the dream of her entire island worth of people as she carries forward Saul's laugh and Saul's heart and carries forward who he was as Frankie carries forward Top's dream. I'm going to cry. I'm going to hold it together. I think Water 7 is incredible. That arc is so good. Man, that arc is good. You get the moments with Polly and with Iceberg, Frankie's backstory, and the Sea Train. You get the wave. You get the lead up into NES Lobby. Water 7 is great. That arc is incredible. And again, most of it's not even fights, though there are some good fights in there. There's some great fights on the Sea Train. And Luffy versus Usopp. Oh my gosh, that fight's so good. Yeah, Water 7 has to be Triple S tier. There's no way it can't be. Whole Cake Island. Whole Cake Island. Whole Cake has just ended. I say just ended. We're pretty far into Wano now. I'm gonna maybe make some people mad here. I think Whole Cake Island's a Triple S. If you had told me at the start of this that I would put Whole Cake Island in Triple S, I would have said you're crazy. But having like been able to codify what I like about One Piece arcs, Whole Cake Island was really strong thematically. It tied to its own theme like Thriller Bark did really well. A crazy cake dessert land. Big Mom as a villain is incredible. She's such a good villain. Super intimidating, super powerful, super tough, but also not driven by a desire to just win, driven by very base desires. Her flashback with Mother Carmel is incredible. That moment got me real good. The stuff with Luffy and Sanji is really good. The moments with Brook and Big Mom are really good. Brook wearing a Luffy face and crushing the picture of Mother Carmel is incredible. Luffy versus Katakuri is incredible. The escape running back through the forest is really good. Luffy versus Cracker is really good. The fight with Oven is really good. The Vinsmokes coming in and helping in the fight is really good. Man, I forgot how good that arc was until I started talking about it. Luffy versus Katakuri alone is a great fight. That is top tier. But the moment with Sanji where he comes back to Luffy and he brings Luffy that basket of food, and the basket of food's not in great shape. The food's not in great shape at all anymore, right? And Luffy eats it gladly because they're family. The moment when Sanji makes too much food because he's used to cooking for all the Straw Hats. Oh, it's so good, man. It's so good. Whole Cake has such a good payoff. And that's not even to count the fact that Whole Cake has one of my favorite characters in One Piece, which is Sparrow. Is that a normal standard everybody's favorite? No. I'll admit that. I could be the only Sparrow fan on the earth. But I love Sparrow, man. He's great. Sparrow is so good. And the moment with him and I forgot his name. Musketeer Jaguar Mink. What's his name? Come on, what's his name? Sacrificed himself. Pedro. The moment with Pedro was incredible. I love that moment so much because I just knew they were going to bring him back and they didn't. It's so good. Prospero missing an arm after the explosion, and all he can say is that it's going to be annoying that when he drinks his hot tea in the afternoon, his candy arm is going to melt. I love him so much. Whole Cake was a great arc that really reminded us, too, just how powerful a Yonko is. Like, Doflamingo was incredibly powerful, but not because of his own strength. Like, he was really strong, too. But it was the setup. It was the crime family and the domination that he'd done. And so when it came down to Luffy versus Dolphy, with backup, Luffy was able to take him. Big Mom is a whole different thing. And so the lead up into fighting Kaido also is set by the idea of just how strong Big Mom is. And Luffy's gotten even stronger, so the fight could go differently this next time. But I think Whole Cake Island is an incredible arc. And like when you little stuff like King Bomb. It's dumb, right? But it's great. Yeah, I loved Whole Cake Island. Whole Cake Island was great. Whiskey Peak. I don't have as much as a love for Whiskey Peak as I do for some of the others. I think Whiskey Peak has some really fun moments in it. Luffy fighting Zoro is really interesting. But Whiskey Peak is just kind of fine for me. I'm gonna put it in B, above Reverie, and I guess above Little Garden. I didn't mean to do that. I like Little Garden more though. Zoe. I think that Zoe is pretty solid. The reveal. Oh man, I just remembered the reveal of Rizo at the end of Zoe. That's real good. I think Zoe starts off pretty rough, but I think by the end, Zoe has paid itself off. I think Zoe's really solid. We're gonna put it after Impeldown. I think that moment, the reveal of Rizo at the end, is really, really. All right, now we gotta rank them in the tiers. Honestly, I'm pretty happy. I could move Arlong Park down. We're gonna put Water 7 above Alabasta too. It's gonna be NES Lobby, Water 7, Alabasta, Thriller Park, Arlong Park. Whole cake. Let's do that. S tier. Right now we have Sabaoti, Baradier, Drum Island, Jaya, Marineford, Romance Dawn, Skypea. Let's move Skypea up. Skypea is pretty low there. Let's move it to behind Drum Island. And then I think this is pretty good. For A, let's go ahead and move Dressrosa up to S. I do think that it pays itself off by the end. It's going to be bottom of S, but I do think that it pays itself off by the end. Impeldown, Zoe, Orangetown, Lowtown, One Ring Long Land, Mountain. Yeah, that's pretty good. Fishman Island. Fishman Island should probably come up to an A. It was a fine art. Little Garden can stay at top of B. That's good. And then Amazon Lily and Punk Hazard. Let me know how wrong I am in the comment section down below, where you would have put everything. And until next time, I've been Trey. This has been the Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that One Piece to offer.